but like reminisce in old times.
That would be good.
So
Hello.
John, maybe save that.
Right. Hello, the people.
Hi, the people. For
And
the people,
hi,
to the people. I don't know that one.
by the people. Are we part of the people? I
I
think we
don't know.
are. Are we royalty? Wait, no. No, we're not royalty.
Don't you guys say that
Um,
like every morning? The Pledge of
mm,
is
what?
that wait,
Like
is that part of the Pledge of
American?
Allegiance?
Wait. No.
Okay.
And I don't think most Americans say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning.
Well, no, I mean like in schools and stuff when you sing the national anthem.
Oh.
I don't even know your national anthem. I should learn it. I know
You
part of
should.
it. I know the notes
Visit
that are
the
hard to
store
hit.
when we conquer Canada, finally.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the Republic which it stands one nation invisible with liberty and justice for all.
I heard invisible, not indivisible. No.
Pledge allegiance to the
Hi, people watching on YouTube / listening on YouTube.
Oh, indivisible.
Mhm.
Right. Hi,
This
people.
is our very rough cut of the podcast. We actually haven't started yet. So this is the behind the scenes look. If you want the edited version, just go to oncepodcast.com and subscribe. But if you want the unedited version, you're probably already supporting the podcast, so you're awesome and a hero, and or you're listening live, and which means you're also awesome and at least a peasant, if not a hero.
We just got really good feedback, like literally 0 minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Well, hang on.
Hold the presses. I
Cool.
feel like
I'm
sending
just gonna have to
feedback
copy
after
this.
7:30 p.m. Eastern time is just a vote of no confidence. Because they're like, of course we say it
7:57.
start on time. There's still time to get this feedback in.
Well, this feedback is not specific to this episode. So maybe they were just saying we could like maybe they anyway,
Oh,
it's good feedback. I'm gonna use it
okay. I'm
under my
down with it.
all caps theory time. Sorry, I also have a stutter.
Guys,
Okay.
this is going to be a really interesting night. You've got two tired podcasts talking about a tiring episode of a slightly tired show. um, but we
It's
love it.
because it was so beautiful this weekend. I was outside all weekend and my body's like, "What is this
Um,
fresh air? You should
What?
be in bed."
What? That's fantastic. Uh, I love my view when I podcast now in the summer,
Oh. Oh,
but
like
the light is
actually
fading. Yeah, I'm not actually
indivisible.
outside, but I can see the outside. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just reading chat. So this
Oh.
is also the section where it's like Canada versus like not versus, but like it's I school you sometimes in Canadian things and you school me sometimes in American things.
Yes.
Like I was just telling Jeremy that in Canada we have a 1-year maternity leave. It's 18 months now potentially. And that I have mixed feelings about that.
Women in Canada now get maternity leave for the entire first 18 years of their child's life.
At 33% of your income. So basically the
Is
rich
that
get
what
richer. Yeah.
maternity leave pay is? Oh,
Yeah,
so
so
it's a mixed blessing.
it's like it's the same as being on unemployment, which we don't call unemployment because that's negative. We call it employment insurance, not
Oh.
unemployment. And so you get, I think it's 55% for 12 months, or you can now get 33% for 18 months, which it equals out to being the
Oh.
same amount. But then a lot of companies do top up, which means for like the first, whatever, it depends where you work. My company doesn't do any top up, but like I think my brother's company tops up for like 7 months. So then you get like 80 or 90% of your wages for the first 7 months. But if
Wow.
you're unemployed, you get nothing. Or not unemployed, sorry. If you're self-employed, you get nothing.
Oh, sure.
So if you're like a working, like if you're like a physiotherapist, I'm just using that as an example because that just happened in my life. My physiotherapist had a baby. Like any of the time she took off to be with her baby, she got nothing
Oh,
because they don't pay into employment insurance, so they
right.
can't get it.
I think the laws in the United States are similar, but I think you get a lot more of what you were making.
But only for like 2 days, right? In some states,
Well,
I know it's really, really low.
the laws keep changing
Yeah.
depending on administrations and such, but for a while, it was quite a while. And but the thing was, it was like if you got I wasn't on it, but I knew someone who was, and it was like if you got a part-time job that wasn't going to support your family or anything, but would help, they reduced the amount of unemployment that you received.
Yeah, same here.
Which is sad. It's good in the sense of saving taxpayer money. It's bad in the sense of encouraging people to not work because they're like, well, if I'm going to get the same money whether I work or not, I should just spend that time hopefully looking for a job or just not working.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, that's weird.
I think we can make equivalent of like 1 day's pay. So if we're on full unemployment, like say we get laid off because our hours, like because our company has no work for us and we're laid off. And so then we're getting like maximum EI, which is like, I want to say it's like $450 a week. Then if I work 1 day, if my company's like, oh, so and so called in sick, can you come to work this day? And I work like Monday, say, I have to say I worked Monday, but as long as I made less than 100 and something dollars, they still give me that max. But if I made more than that, then they deduct dollar for dollar the
Oh, wow.
difference. Yeah.
From 33%?
From I think it's 55 at that
Oh, right.
time. 33 was only a maternity leave
Oh, okay.
number. And you can
Interesting.
anyway, yeah, it's complicated. I don't know a lot about it. I have been on it once when I got laid off, but I haven't been
This
laid off
little
lately.
pre-show we do could be our next podcast.
I know.
But what we should do to make it inclusive of all of North America is we should find another co-host in Mexico.
Yep.
It would have to be somebody who speaks English well, because otherwise we'd have to learn Spanish. Canadian and American are so similar that you and I can communicate pretty well. But we might have to brush up on our Spanish to do the I don't know what we'd call it, the North American podcast.
I think, yeah, this could be our next podcast,
Wait,
including our like pre-show
where does
typing that we
where
typed
does
for
South
like
America start? South America is below Mexico, right? I mean, south of Mexico.
yeah, Mexico is part of North America
Okay, that's what I thought, but suddenly I questioned
because
myself.
we have to beat Mexico to qualify for soccer for the North American.
Oh, is that why?
It's called, wait, what is it called? Confederation.
Soccer. Football.
What is it? Come on.
I don't know.
Confederation of North. No,
I don't know
never mind.
nothing about this.
That's nothing.
Okay.
That's all of the Americas. Anyway.
How many versions of America are there?
North and South.
In another
and
realm.
Central. Yeah, in our realm.
If you start adding in the other realms, the possibilities are endless. There could be a French America.
Confederation of North Central American and Caribbean Association of Football. That is what I was looking up. CONCACAF.
Oh, dang, no wonder you couldn't think of it. It's nothing. It's gibberish.
It's what we have to get the top 2 in to qualify for the Olympics for soccer.
Oh, so
for
very
women.
important gibberish.
Well, I mean, the men would too, but our men aren't very good at playing soccer. So they don't ever qualify.
That's awesome.
And it's 41 countries, actually.
The men would too, but
they're not very good. Yeah.
But
oh my gosh. That's a topic for our next podcast. I can rant about decisions that Canada Soccer makes.
Manic says fictional West and East America.
Sweet. I live in southwestern Ontario. Which part am I in? North side, Northwest, North America.
I think you're just in.
Wait, Witty, are you Canadian?
Canada.
Is Witty Canadian? Do we know?
I don't know. Witty.
Witty did give us like the best theory ever. No, it wasn't a theory. It was just really good feedback.
Do you want to do a tired podcast?
Yes. I
I've
feel like
almost
we
finished
should
my
do some
second
like
cup of coffee.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like some wake up thing.
Oh, I was like, and what
1, 2,
would
3,
that
4,
mean
1, 2,
if we
3,
did
4,
do
1, 2, 3,
that?
4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Oh, wait, I forgot. It's this one.
Tick tock, dearie. Tick tock.
Talk. Oh, I wish. Do you have? You probably don't have this sound clip. I'm gonna put it in our private chat because I want to know if you have this. Do you have this one? Do you know even what episode that's from?
Oh, I thought you were going Slack.
Oh, sorry. No, it's in our.
Oh, I don't know where that comes from.
Oh, it's from that episode in season 2B.
Oh, really?
Hang on.
Ooh, creepy. My lights
You
are coming
remember
on.
when they had Regina and they tried to oh,
Break a curse?
so remember they captured her and then Snow White stopped the arrow. The
Oh,
cricket game. That's it. It's from the cricket game.
I was never that young.
You were, because you did a podcast about it.
Oh, why?
Cricket game, once upon a time.
I went from an elderly Scotty to Homestar Runner. What has my mind become?
Oh, see, I found the clip. Now I have to listen to a Nivea face ad.
Sorry, what? Oh.
Okay. Give
I
me
get it now.
5 seconds left of the ad.
Okay. I'll just
Miss
be here
Laird from
watching
Nivea.
the twilight. It's a weird stormy day, but not stormy, and it's rather beautiful. And now the sun is sort of coming through gray clouds. I swear we're going to start, you guys.
Yep.
And actually talk about Once Upon a Time. Eventually.
You tricked me.
Whoa. About the podcast?
Why would it? Never mind. It's fine. Do you remember? And then she stabbed her,
No.
and then she was like, "You tricked me," and she was
Who
like, "It
stabbed
wasn't a
who?
trick." Oh my goodness.
I don't remember this at all.
Okay, so
Hickory dickory
it's
dock.
it's from a flashback, and they captured Regina, and then they were shooting the arrow, and then Snow White said stop because they were going to kill her, and she didn't want to kill Regina, so Blue stopped the arrow, and then they captured her, and that's when they put the curse on her that she couldn't harm anybody else in the kingdom.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, not okay, cool.
Nope. Long
Anyway,
time ago.
there was this very Mary Margaret Snow Whitey quote where she was like, "It wasn't a trick. It was a test. One
You
that
are
I
very
truly
good.
hoped you'd pass," or something like that, right? When she was also writing
That was great.
the dark one blew
Very,
up.
very. We should have you do imitations of Snow White.
Who am I, Bailey Madison? Calm down.
Wow. Okay.
Cool. I'm ready.
All right. Okay. Ready for
Wait,
that music?
Are you making fun of my? Never mind.
No, I was genuinely giving you a compliment, and you told me to calm down. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
That's I think what just happened.
Okay. I need to find the opening line.
Mm.
Oh, what did I do? What did I do?
What's happening? You have an opening line? Oh, that line.
You're listening to Once, episode
The one that's been
339.
spoken over 300 times.
Yeah, but I had to know what episode it was.
True.
Cool. Going for 339. Let's go.
All right. Ooh. All right.
Sorry, was that loud?
In
Okay.
3. Oh dear.
No, it's fine.
Mm.
Fine.
3, 2.
It's so loud.
I turned it down.
Like the one time we didn't test it, it was so loud.
Oh my goodness.
It was so loud I couldn't even try.
I hadn't ducked it yet, though.
Oh, I know.
Was
But it
it louder
still
than
so loud.
normal?
It felt like it.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Okay.
Let me check a
No,
couple things.
Maybe I'll just turn down. I can turn down my volume. Wait,
That's
talk.
funny.
Just talk for a minute.
Talking. Oh, talking is something I can definitely do because
Okay,
when
let's
I'm
go now.
talking, oh, okay.
I turned you down, so you can just go, and then I'll turn you back up.
Okay. Chat room. Was it real loud for you? I have to wait like 30 seconds to find out if I. Well, they probably would be like screaming in text if it were terrible. You've been warned. I'll just say that. I'm going to do it again exactly the same way, chat. So if it was terrible, then turn it down right now. Okay. 3, 2.
You're listening to Once, episode 339, The Guardian. Oh, I have to say something else.
What?
So sorry, guys. Oh, this is going to be a fun night. No, I'm reading chat. Okay, I need to get out of chat. That's the problem.
Yes.
Maybe you should do this part.
Oh, dear.
Okay. Hello and welcome back to Once, the unofficial podcast for ABC's TV show Once Upon a Time.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Erin.
And we're here to talk about The Guardian.
So sorry, John. This is a really rough cut, guys.
Oh my goodness. When two co-hosts are slap happy at the same time.
Well, we're playing off each other now because when I hear you laughing, I laugh.
True.
Like,
I tried
crying.
so hard. You could hear it in my voice though.
I could.
All right. Gotta get mad.
Hello and no. Get mad.
Sorry. All right, I'll be good.
Hello and welcome back to Once, the unofficial podcast for ABC's TV show Once Upon a Time.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Erin.
And we're here to talk about The Guardian.
This episode.
And we're here to complain about The Guardian. No, not really.
I don't even want to complain. It's just they're doing exactly what I thought they would do, which is like wrapping things up as quickly as possible.
And also not.
In a way that doesn't always make the best sense.
Yeah. So that's, I guess, your overall verdict.
Yeah, I didn't think of the.
I would agree. It was it was not horrible, but it wasn't great, and it was a little frustrating. And as we always find out when we start trying to break it down thematically so that we can discuss it in something that's not all over the place. I mean, all over the place for us, but not, we try to follow storylines. And when we try to do that lately, it's been very, very difficult.
It's been difficult. And I do want to say I did like first watch, I enjoyed this episode a lot. Second watch, when I'm being a little bit more critical, trying to think of things for the podcast, it wasn't as good. But there were still aspects that I quite enjoyed. And the good thing is I'm still theorizing. So
That's true.
they haven't totally lost us. So yes, if
Yeah.
you are new to listening to the podcast, please go back and listen to some of the podcasts from when we enjoyed this show a lot better because they were great. But also we are taking a thematic approach or attempting to take a thematic approach.
Yes. And I almost, it's kind of, they're in an awkward spot because they're having to, well, that's not true. I was going to say they're having to finish stories we don't care as much about, but they're actually wrapping up some of the most basic stories from the beginning of the show. This was a really dagger centric episode, and yet all the players are new, almost.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, well, let's get in. We've got some good feedback, some good thoughts that actually, I don't know, made me like it even a little less. I think something that does help, though, is that I like Alice so much.
I really enjoyed that aspect of this storyline, both past and present. So
that is very helpful. It overcomes a lot of my annoyance at the fact that someone who's brand new to the show and the child of someone from a wish realm that shouldn't have existed is the key to the whole thing.
Well, and so here's my question about that. Was that their plan all along? Because we have had theories all along that Alice was the guardian because of where Rumpelstiltskin appeared, and that was the first person he met, and that was what we thought Belle had implied. But then they took this whole segue where Anastasia was the guardian for a while.
Yeah.
And so was that the plan all along, or are they just like, oh no, we got canceled, now we need to actually wrap this up, and we sent Anastasia back to another realm?
It's very confusing. Sidebar.
But it still makes sense.
Whose feedback was it that mentioned? This is why I'm rubbish at feedback. I think, oh, we had feedback that talked about this very thing, and I don't remember whose it was.
We only had like 4 pieces of feedback, so it should be easy to find. I didn't read it all because I was held up on that situation.
I think it was probably somewhere in Gareth's manifesto. Let's see.
Oh, he did. He talked about the Guardian.
Or maybe no. I think it was Keeper of Squid Ink, somewhere in there. Were you gonna do anything with that feedback?
No, I didn't read all of those ones.
Oh, okay.
I only have the one from the chat and then the one that we just got. Is for later, but really good.
Oh, I see where it is. Okay, yes, I see it. I'll reference it because I might read the rest of this later.
Okay.
Yeah, Keeper of Squid Ink sent in some feedback, and among the points in that was that same thing. Like, why did we go off on the whole Anastasia kick?
Well, that was Gothel who implied, like, Gothel and Drizella definitely implied that Anastasia was the guardian. I don't believe Rumpelstiltskin ever did.
I remember him saying the line. Wait, never mind that part. I think I've done this before. I remember a line that he said incorrectly, and I've tried to reference it once before, and so we're just gonna take that out. I seem to remember him arguing with Lady Tremaine about that, and he was leaning that way, and she was pretty resistant to the idea. But I I guess I don't understand, because it did feel when he left the Edge of Realms, he was supposed to go to the time and place where the Guardian was waiting for him. And the first person he
Right.
met was Alice. And it
But
seemed
was she waiting
incredibly
for him?
obvious. Well, she wasn't waiting per se, but she rarely knows what it is she's doing.
But then the
So,
definition is pure of heart. So anybody who's pure of heart could be the guardian, yeah?
well, she also has magic.
Yes, but so does Anastasia.
And maybe there's some fate/destiny in it.
Right,
know.
which is that's a rant for later.
Yeah, they have just gotten so off the rails. I don't question things the way I used to. There's a part of me that's sort of just like, yes, okay, thank you for the rules of engagement. Let's do the story and figure out
There
where it's going to end, because there's so little consistency now in all of the magical things that it's almost like I don't even look for it anymore.
Yes. They had a lot of rules for engagement in this episode because I found myself writing down like exact quotations so that I could remember them because I know that they're going to come into play. And so he talked about fixing the poison heart, and this makes sense to me. If dark magic was used, then the solution would have to be just as dark, except I feel like
That really
light
bothers
sucks
me,
out the
actually.
darkness.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, that bothers me because when has that ever been a rule in any story, including any kind of heroism and magic?
Like
And
light magic should always be
yeah,
stronger.
it should.
But
And
I think they're going to
certainly,
show us that it is.
yeah, it just, yeah. Now, who said that? Was that Rumple?
Yes. He said that to no. Oh, did he say that was either Rumple or Facilier? Oh, goodness. No, maybe now I don't remember.
Okay. Mid podcast research. I'm going to pull it up because I can do that.
It's at the very top of my notes about the dagger and the guardian, which to me means that it's either Facilier or Hook said it, or like Rumple said it to Hook or Alice right at the very beginning.
Wish I could remember the context.
Geez, good job, Aaron, not writing the context when you wrote the exact quote.
It was shoot. Hashtag sorry, John. Let's see. Can you hear that?
No.
Okay. Let's see. And okay. I can't remember where it is well enough to find it.
Yeah, Alice didn't stab anyone, Snooky. She had the scalpel, but she didn't do it.
Let's see. You said God use dark magic curse you, which means any solution would be just as dark. So somebody who knew Gothel. And he was talking to Nook. Oh well. I don't know. Let me see if I can find a scene with Nook at all. Oh, good. It's not skipping smoothly. Ugh. All right. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know where it is. But that just shows how muddy everything is, because we can't even remember who said a line.
No, Rumpelstiltskin definitely said the line. I just don't know who he said it to.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
Well, the next line right after that in my notes is when he told Nook that Alice was going to be a great hero, a protector of the Darkwind dagger known as the Guardian. Wait, did he say that to?
Oh, so this would have been when he was talking to
Nook outside the
outside
house.
of Alice's house. That helps. I mean, I guess that tells us the context. I just don't remember why he would say such a thing.
Well, to give us some rules of engagement.
Stupid.
Are we
though.
back to recording now?
No.
Okay.
Hold on.
Are you still looking? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Once you said that, I realized I could probably find it. No, they switched scenes so quickly. Meh. All right, never mind.
Okay.
All right.
I can probably segue if you want.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. They also gave a very good definition of the Guardian as a quote great hero, a protector of the Dark One Dagger, known as the Guardian. That is what he said to Nook when he was talking about why he wanted to talk to Alice.
It doesn't make sense for there to be just someone with a title like the Guardian specifically to correspond to the dagger and only the dagger. I mean, I could see them saying, "Oh, there's a prophecy and this guardian," and then they take that name and they go, "You're the guardian from the prophecy." But here, it's more like they just go, "Oh yeah, the guardian, of course," as if that's just a thing. And they started that back in Beauty, the episode Beauty, I think, right at the end, actually.
That was the episode it was started in, and that was the first mention that we had of the Guardian. But I do feel like back in the season with the Dark Ones, we theorized that Emma should, as the savior and the one with the greatest potential for good, for darkness, I don't remember, that she should be the one that could wield both light and dark magic.
Yeah, I never liked that idea.
Well, I do feel like, so say all the cast didn't leave at the end of last season and Emma was still in the show, would she not be the first person as the savior that you would think of that would then be the guardian of light and dark magic?
You would. And interestingly, Jennifer Morrison was initially invited to be in the cast for this season.
Interesting.
However, that would be very odd. That would be an expansion. If they had done that, that would have been an expansion of her role that would have been almost annoying.
But they wouldn't have even had to change her role title.
No, that's true. But she should be, in a sense, in a pure storyline, I still would think of her as Princess Emma, who ended up becoming the savior to this curse, who then fulfilled her destiny and the way the curse was written, and that's it.
That is true.
Because that's a tight storyline.
We got actually somebody who was probably watching on Friday Night Live and then posted a theory in chat, sent us a really good theory about this topic. So Faye, thank you for putting your theory in chat. And she says, my theory is Rumpel will actually be the guardian. He was destined to be a savior, and he will be the savior in the end. He has saved them all in almost every finale, even against his own parents. Keep this in mind. Rumpel, the most evil, tortured soul of them all, will in the end save them all and be the final savior. He is his own guardian. His own pure heart will save them all. Mark my words. And this is the one I really loved. I also believe Emma is going to come back and kiss Henry in the final episodes. I just know it. The last curse will be broken. They will be finding a way to help Henry stay alive, and Emma will enter the picture and keep him alive. So I like that theory too. That would be very much a throwback to season 1.
Yeah, there would be some symmetry in it. I don't know if it works I don't know if it honors the story for the legacy of Henry and Ella.
Yeah.
They've just
Although
finally started to get some chemistry. If their kiss isn't what breaks the curse, then their romance is just stupid.
I already don't think that their kiss is going to be the one that breaks the curse, but it's not because of this
Really?
theory, and I'll talk about that later.
Interesting.
Yes.
Now, the Rumple having been originally destined to be a savior, I had forgotten about. That's still that whole storyline and the way they started throwing around the word savior all over the place still is weird for me.
Yeah.
But for that whole sort of mythology that they created for the show, it would make sense, except for the fact that he seems to consider his immortality more a burden almost than the darkness, because he's kind of got the darkness under control, but he just wants to move on. And it seems that the Guardian is also burdened with immortality.
Well, or
Because if
so
the
he
Guardian
thinks.
dies, who's protecting the
Yeah.
dagger and the darkness? Which, that's again, that's a new concept this episode, that the Guardian is necessarily saddled with immortality.
But I don't think Rumpelstiltskin knows that. I think he's just suspecting that. It makes sense. It's a logical conclusion, but
That was the whole reason that he didn't go through with it, isn't it?
that is. He said
But I
immortality is
guess
just another tower. You deserve better than that. You're going to fall in love, grow old with somebody, etc.
right. Yeah.
So that theory about him being his own savior, he does say he's going to find another way, even if it means I lose the battle with the darkness to do so.
Which makes very little sense to me.
That he's going to find another way.
A lot of it. It's like, okay, so, well, they've muddied the concept so much. They made it sort of poetic within this one episode, especially with the end of the flashbacks. But we've gotten hints that the appearance had to do with the darkness before, in that when Belle's kiss started to break the curse, which that was almost more a misstep in season 1 than anything, because now they act like it's not a simple curse and it can't just be broken with true love's kiss. But when that happened, he started to look normal again for a minute, and then he shook it off and kept the darkness. But having his hands kind of start to go scaly, and it's like, well, I don't know. It was odd. After 7 years, that's a new behavior. They started treating it like Zelina's jealousy.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the most far-fetched thing they've done. It's like he's holding the darkness at bay somehow, and so it's not affecting his outward appearance, and then somehow he's losing the fight. But then I guess it happened really rapidly later on. So
Well, it happened really rapidly when he was trying to get Alice to kill Facilier. That's when he started really changing.
did he?
Like
I mean, he started
even in
talking
his
differently.
yeah, even in his mannerisms. And then I feel like when they left the house, his whole arms, that's great English.
Oh.
All of his arms, both of his arms, both of his arms were like totally changed. And I thought it was creeping up in his neck too.
Oh, it could have been. Which, okay, so let's actually talk about that whole sequence of events. So we kind of start out, we see Rumple and Facilier's first meeting.
Yes.
Which was fun to see Facilier caught off guard by the voodoo not working.
That was so good.
I was a little weirded out by this sudden shrine to the dead where apparently people can go talk to the dead, or maybe he just set that up for Belle. I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, I think that was just his. I feel like that was in his palace. Maybe not.
So that wasn't Facilier's cabin, right?
No, his cabin's like teeny tiny.
Yeah, the
I think
first viewing, I got a
Facilier.
little confused. I thought like Facilier that just hung out there, and then like maybe that was his place. I don't know. But then I noticed that even when Belle's picture was hiding, the cup was still there, the chipped cup and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that was just Gold's. That was just Rumpelstiltskin's like mantle, like his. What did you call it? Shrine
Shrine, yeah. It's
to
kind of
Belle.
odd.
Just
Yeah.
like, well, I don't think he has like a gravestone that he can go talk to her at. So this
True.
could be
Not
the
without
next
going
best
back
thing.
to the Edge of Realms.
Right.
So so there was all that stuff. And then they've also, in the middle of all this, they've set up this thing where it's like just a balance of actions. Because they keep telling Rumple in present day, if you do this, you'll never see Belle. If you do that, you'll never see Belle. Like, well, okay. So everybody can do everything they want except Rumple, who apparently is just on the edge. It's anyway, it's a weird. Anytime people set up this whole do enough good, you go here, do enough bad, you go there kind of thing. It's very strange to me.
Well, yeah, and arguably him forcing Alice or even manipulating her into killing somebody would be a bad deed. Like, isn't that even
Right.
like biblical? Like, if you cause your fellow brother or sister in Christ to stumble, you're just as guilty. I don't know if that's true. I'm just remembering old church sermons.
Not quite in that wording, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, like you don't. If he had made, I guess ultimately Alice would have made her own choice.
That's kind of about
And I'm
the
wondering,
corrupting of of others.
yeah,
But
but I'm wondering if maybe they were being so black and white about the heart thing just to try to convince Alice that that was her only way. If she thinks this is the only way to get reunited with her father,
mhm.
then maybe
Well,
she'll do it.
so the whole thing was a test, though.
Yes. It
Which
wasn't a
so, but it's
trick. It was a test.
uh, it was so. If he was turning more scaly, it's almost like was testing her wrong, like lying to her first. He lied to her about why they were going to see Facilier, and then he was trying to get her to kill him, but also that was kind of a test or a trick. And he
I think it would have
was
worked though.
really.
I think if she had killed Facilier, I mean, there's no reason to have led her astray. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, maybe I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't say, nor could any of them, whether killing Facilier would have in any way helped Nook and Alice.
Well, a life for a life, right? Like that's I'm going back to season 2B when Snow White killed Cora with the candle.
Yeah.
That was didn't she have to trade? She had to trade her own pure heart, right? To
Yeah,
kill another.
well, she darkened her heart and she was trading,
Oh, Rumpelstiltskin's life.
yes, she was trading Cora's life for Rumpelstiltskin.
So then a trade of a heart for a heart and it being black magic or dark magic, that would make sense.
Right.
That would work.
It
I just don't
just
think it's the only thing in the whole world
yeah.
of magic that would work.
But mostly Rumple wanted to prove that she was the guardian. I
Yes,
don't
I
think he
agree.
really wanted her to kill him, but he tried to get her to as hard as he could to show that she just would not.
And then
but
Alice
that, that reminded me of Gothel. Gothel's been
trying
doing
to.
that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's what she did to Tremaine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Rapunzel.
Right. She's been doing these. And then that also actually, because Rumpel was very convincing, you would swear if he hadn't turned around and explained it, and if we didn't know him, we would swear that he really wanted her to kill him. I think he would have been disappointed had she done it, but he wouldn't have been heartbroken.
Right.
But that makes me wonder, could it be? I really hope not, actually, but could it be that that's exactly what Gothel's been doing, and she really didn't necessarily want people dead? I think that's not true because she's been killing people herself. So never mind that.
Yeah, but at one point, I do think she was looking for. And who knew that she would be the one to birth the guardian of all people?
Oh, true. I keep forgetting that. I have to remind myself of that constantly. Like, oh yeah, she's Gothel's daughter, which is creepy. Why do they keep doing this to us?
What, connecting everybody by blood?
No, the creepy parentage.
Yeah, that's fairy tales, though.
They keep talking about Robin's legacy and all this stuff, and I was reminded recently, yeah, Robin Hood didn't know he was with Zelena at the time.
Oh, right.
Like, you guys should shy away from that as much as possible, all right? Like, that was a misstep, and they just keep doing it. Ugh.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. And then exactly the same thing here. But it doesn't, like, Gothel is magic. That makes sense. So it makes sense that Alice has magic. Nook is not magical. But
true. And I'm glad that you just said that, because that had been a question mark. Like, okay, where did Alice get magic?
From Gothel.
It would be more surprising if she didn't
have magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so now we know that Alice has this destiny.
We also know she can pull out hearts.
Well, really awkwardly, but yes.
Yeah.
I was like, what is she doing to him? Oh, now she has his heart, but it's kind of darkened. And so is that a heart? It took me a minute to clue into what was happening.
Dr. Facilier's heart is so dark, you didn't even recognize it as a heart.
Mm-hmm.
I think that informs our opinion of him in the present.
Agreed. But what I don't understand, I feel like I feel like Rumpelstiltskin of all people knows. I feel like Rumpelstiltskin of all people knows that destiny can't really be beat. And now he's trying to rob Alice of her destiny. And I understand that was a good deed. That was a good thing he did. He's trying to give her a normal life like Nook wanted. And he's trying not to imprison her with the same immortality that he feels is imprisoning him. But if that's what she was born to do.
Right. I had the same thought. Like, maybe it's not a burden. If that's her fate or her destiny, then why is he saying no? Also, when he says find another way, does he literally mean a way other than a guardian? Because isn't he going to have the same feeling that he's burdening someone no matter who it is? Unless he finds someone who's already guarding something, and so they're immortal already.
Well, and the light magic characters don't seem to have the same burden with immortality. Right. Like, we've never seen Blue Fairy griping that she's still alive.
Well, she's a nun, so like.
Well, no, but even in the past, she seemed to.
That's why fairies don't love. I guess that is what they said.
They
Maybe.
don't love?
Well, they don't get to be in love.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's why. So they don't have to worry about outliving somebody.
I think Alice is going to still be the guardian in
I think so
present day.
too.
Yeah.
She was 90% of the way there.
And it was light magic, it looked like.
I was vaguely annoyed that the dagger was telling her what to do.
In present day?
Mm-hmm. The dagger has never been anything but insidious. And the darkness that it's bound to is absolutely menacing and insidious, but it's kind of like, oh, you're the one that's gonna contain the darkness forever? Here's how you do it. No. What, the darkness wants to rest? I doubt it.
Interesting. I never thought of that.
Just lazy.
Yeah. In previous seasons though, the dagger did talk. Like the dagger whispered to the dark ones, right? In the dark one season.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happened to the sword?
Oh.
Guess what we should have done? Hashtag hire the nerd.
Oh, I was too slow. Here.
Hashtag hire the nerd.
Yeah, what happened to Excalibur?
Well,
I think there's something in chat only you understand.
oh.
Insidious?
my
Does that make Rumple the Darth one? I don't even know what that means because
I don't even know where to go with that. That's fantastic, though. That's the best thing ever.
That could be our closing. Yeah, what happened to the sword?
I don't remember.
I'm waiting for chat to tell us.
Nope. I remember. Wait, do I?
Oh.
Wasn't it? There was a piece and it was connected with the dagger again. Is that right? Excalibur. The dagger was Excalibur.
What was the rest of it?
Was the rest? Yeah, but was it reunited?
Who's on right now?
Or they tried to reunite it? Somebody did. I remember. No, Emma was trying to do that. Seems to me it was done, and then it was destroyed, and then that should have been the end of all the Dark Ones. But they found the loophole because they wanted Rumple to be back as the Dark One, and then there was a new dagger. This is not the original dagger.
Oh.
Okay, let me look it up. Stupid show. Who can keep track of this stuff? Clearly they aren't. So
Oh, do you know who might know? Jack has got to be listening because he's writing show notes.
She
is writing show notes. Daniel's answering though, so hang on.
Ooh. Oh.
Reminder, this is our uncut version. Oh, and then Hunter just popped on when I tagged her, so.
Oh, nice.
I don't even know what season that
goodness.
was.
I just want to share. I looked up the Dark One's dagger at the main Once Upon a Time wiki.
Mm-hmm.
Under the history, here are the sections under history. Before first curse, during first curse, after first curse, before, during, and after second curse, before and after third curse, after fourth curse and during fifth curse.
Daniel said it dissolved when Emma killed Hook, reborn into the Dark One dagger. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to segue or shall I?
You go for it if you've got something.
Okay. Because you had just asked what happened to it, I believe.
Yeah.
Excalibur was broken into at one point, and the dagger was part of it, and then there was another shard, as I recall, and it was put back together, and it was destroyed when Emma killed Hook, and should have been gone forever. But then there was the worst reset in Once Upon a Time history when, in ways that made no sense, Rumpelstiltskin stole back the power and a new Dark One dagger was formed. This one that we see now that's a little bit darker than before.
Right.
I do think that was possibly the worst moment in the show's history.
That's probably why I don't remember it.
Because they had brought the entire Dark One story to a close and really finished Rumpel's story in that he was no longer the Dark One. And then they just, I believe that was also the part where they literally said, luckily a vial of magic was at hand, and they had never referred to magic as a substance before. And gosh, that really having bad flashbacks.
Was that season 5?
It was a season.
Yeah. Cool.
It was right before the underworld, because that's where Hook went.
Right. Gotcha. So 5A.
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh,
A very
man.
dark moment in Once Upon a Time history. No pun intended.
Yeah, I guess. And so that wasn't even at the end of a season where they're like, oh no, we got renewed for another season and now we need to come up with content. And Darkwind Dagger's been so paramount in this series, so we better bring it back.
Correct.
It was in the middle of a season.
Yes. It's funny because I think that a lot of these things happen, like the story that we're watching now, and I connect it back to its roots. And my brain just chops out the parts that didn't make sense in the middle. And so I enjoy it a little bit more because, until we've been thinking about some of this, I forgot it wasn't the original dagger.
Yeah, I did too. It's interesting because what you just said is something I wanted to bring up, which is Rumpelstiltskin said, all magic comes with a price. I guess it was finally my turn to pay, which is very much a throwback to season 1. How many times did he say all magic comes with a price? So then I would love for this to happen. We got really good feedback literally a half an hour after we were supposed to start recording. So our fans have great faith in our timekeeping skills.
Right.
So we got this great feedback, and it's from Keeper of Squid Ink, and it was directed at me because of a reference I made. So it says, Aaron, you have referenced An Apple Red as Blood from season 1 a lot. By any chance, have you rewatched lately? I have not. I just remember that episode. One of the last scenes of this episode is when Regina prances into Mr. Gold's shop claiming she has gotten rid of an unwanted nuisance, Emma. Rumpel has that worried look on him. When he realizes she used magic to make magic, he tells her that all magic comes with a price. Regina taunts him by saying he will be the one to pay the price right here because the curse is stronger than ever. We assumed that meant in the context of season 1. It would be creepy cool if it was foreshadowing what we just saw in this episode, and it may come later for the finale. So I would love if I had enough confidence now in these writers that they could do something like that.
Right. Unfortunately, it's just a lack of, it's not all their fault. It's partially the way network television works. They never know their future. But
they
also
could make that connection though.
Yeah. I think that if they were to do it now, it would be retconning and it would be terrible.
But making the connection of like this suffering right now that Regina is going through because her son is cursed is her price of magic. Because even in season 1 and 2, the price of magic was never fully established. Because I remember a smackdown between Emma and Regina in season 2B where they were fighting over Henry, and Emma uses magic. Oh, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it was a great scene. It's when they were trying to freeze Regina with like the squid ink, and Snow and Charming were hiding, and then Mother Blue Fairy came out and tried to get her. And Emma basically implied that the price of magic was Henry. He'll never want to come near you again. And then they had that big Regina went, "You will not keep my son from me," and flung Emma. Like that was very much implying that Henry was going to pay the price of the magic because he was heartbroken. Like to me, that's not a price of magic. That's a consequence of bad parenting.
Right. Yeah. That they've gotten a little too literal with the price of magic in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty comfortable with it. I don't remember questioning it too much in season 1. Like, oh, he said always. That means every single time they use magic, there's a price. Like that's never been how it's worked. Because otherwise, it's like, oh, you poofed somewhere. I think you're gonna have to pay. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like the wishes, the genie wishes, is you have to be careful what you wish for because the wish doesn't always come out the way you expect it to.
Yeah.
Right? Trying really hard to think of an example from either this show or Wonderland. Can't. My attempts are futile. Anyway, the whole idea that when you used the wishes, you had to be very careful and specific, to me is kind of like the price of magic, where you might get what you're wanting, but some other horrendous consequence pays the price. And they were, now that we're thinking about it, now that I'm thinking about it, in the episode we already referenced where Snow used the candle, the price of magic to me was her darkened heart.
Right. No, I agree. And other things that happened. But yeah, more directly, that was a price.
Do you know who doesn't seem to be concerned about the price of magic? Dr. Facilier.
Yeah. I don't get him. I don't get his presence as a character. I'm super tired of the Facilier Regina thing. It makes 0 sense. And we just do not have the time.
Agreed. Also, I thought he was lying for sure. Also,
when
he
said
said
he didn't have the dagger.
Yeah. Because he said, "I don't have it," not "I didn't take it." So I was like, oh, he's just doing that play on words thing where it's like, "I don't have it." Yes, because I got Drew to steal it for me. That's what I was assuming had happened.
I see.
But I did like see, they're still like giving us more things that they're gonna have to finish, or they just won't finish them, and that's fine because we're used to that too. But he said to Regina, "Have you noticed it's always him," being Rumpelstiltskin, "slithering between you and me?" So that is implying such a history that we don't even know.
Well, that's going to have to be the flashbacks of the next episode because we have what? We have 3-ish, two episodes before the last 2 weeks. And I'm
So
still
4
assuming
total.
that what I heard was correct, that the last 2 episodes will somehow be connected as a 2-part finale. But yeah, that leaves two regular episodes before those 2. Now, the finale could include this whole story, which would be different from what they do most years.
I think it has to, though, because they're not opening a new can of worms this time.
They could. It might be an old can of worms, but they could still. They could still completely change gears. I wouldn't be mad, even if they wanted to just sort of wrap half the stuff up next week. I wouldn't be upset.
I think that they've been at least aiming towards wrapping things up. Have they actually wrapped anything up in the last 2 weeks? Well, Drizella and Anastasia and Tremaine, that whole storyline to me is wrapped up and at peace unless they come back, which doesn't have to happen again. Like, I had theorized that they were going to come back and help because I thought Anna was the guardian, because they thought Anna was the guardian. They said Anna was the guardian.
Yes. And they wrapped up the Who's Killing Witches storyline in the revelation that it was Nick by disassociation with Facilier.
Well, I don't think it was dissociation. I think it was
Nick
conscious.
Not understanding that he was doing someone else's work, and that's why he was awake.
Right. Okay, that's true. And then they've used that, like, in this episode, at least, it was clever. Yes, and Zelina. It was clever in this episode, clever writing, to have used that Nick wrap up. Like, he's dead, but they've used that as the catalyst to get Henry and Jacinda into a better situation.
Right.
And to move that part of the story on a little bit better.
Yeah, it is weaving, no weaver pun intended. It is weaving together fairly well. It's just, it doesn't feel very coherent as a single season story arc. Because our main characters going into the season are gone. And we realize that we're mostly watching other main characters that, I mean, aside from our main cast, all the people that were introduced this year, mostly, that I guess it's like we thought we had a new cast, but we only didn't. We had like half new cast, half 7A cast, and then we have our 7B cast, which is Drew and Facilier and Robin. And there was some weaving in. Well, Alice, yeah. But
she was original. Yeah.
It's like they did thankfully introduce a lot of the people that we're focusing on now in the first half of the season, but they clearly weren't there for the main story at that point.
I feel like they've always done that.
They've
like, case in point would be Ruby.
When they started splitting the season's stories, they were really bad.
Yeah, I think maybe they got better at having contracts with their actors, because I think what was happening, or at least what I heard, like, in the background, not official, like, news, is that the actors weren't in the beginning of the show. They were not series regulars, therefore they were not bound by contract, and they wanted to be working and they weren't being used.
Yeah.
So I know that happened with, what's her name? Who plays Ruby?
Megan Ori?
Yeah. So I know that happened with Megan Ori, and she's given statements about it, that happened in season 2. And that's when they got the rights to Neverland. Yep. Right. But originally she was meant to be used for the whole arc of that season. And then they split up the season and they went on in the Neverland direction. And then she wasn't being used anymore. And then I know that also happened with Michael Saka, who they brought from Wonderland into Once Proper and then never used him.
We don't speak of that.
Well, it still happened.
It should not have.
Agreed.
Yeah, that they needed to just turn the array. That I was okay. Like, if they wanted to sweep that under the rug and pretend it never happened, I was happy to look the other way. Some of the stuff that they abandoned, like Ruby's stuff in season 2, it's like they just ripped off her shadow and left her face down in the sand. Oh wait, that was Greg and Tamara.
But it does feel kind of like they're doing that again because Tiana was at one point a very main part of this cast. Like I think that's what you meant when you said 7A.
Yes.
And then now she's not really being used. She's kind of just a chill, casual character.
Well, and really, if you think about it, Gothel's not in this half of the season. She's very much still part of the story because they talk about her all the time. But when's the last time we saw her?
I
She'll
think
be
this has
back.
been is this our second or third episode without her?
Well, yeah, she was the last time we saw her, I think, was right before
Sisters.
Anastasia and Drizella left.
It was Sisterhood episode.
Yeah. So this is our
Is that what it was called?
third. Yeah. So I'm probably exaggerating a little bit. That means I don't know how many of those first 5 episodes of this half she was in.
I think she was in all of them.
Maybe she was. And so maybe I'm slightly exaggerating, but I still think it's sort of like they wanted her in half of the episodes of this season total, and they're sort of sprinkling those here and there. So she gets talked about, but we haven't seen her in a little while. I assume because we're going to see her a lot in the next at least 2 episodes.
I do think we're going to see her a lot, and I think that the things that she is the most related to, which is this like Alice storyline and the Nook storyline, like that's all of her history. I think that they did need to establish this information that we've been getting in the last 3 episodes needed to be established before she comes back. She'll be back.
Yeah.
She has to be, obviously. I don't think they can send her to Forgotten Character Island quite yet.
No, certainly. The question is, what's going to happen to her?
Well, I do not know. Maybe she's going to join forces with Regina because Regina has pretty much burned all of the bridges of everybody that she could be asking for help.
Well, maybe not Facilier because maybe she'll see him later.
When she said to Rumple, you and I were through, first of all, he didn't even use all the magic. So if they wanted to imply that he did, they should have rinsed out that jar because it definitely still had magic at the bottom. I watched it so carefully.
I don't know why he dumped it all. I mean, it felt like I thought he just wanted a little of it.
Yeah. Like they could have done half-seas.
I think, let me remember names that are common to us. I think Tilly should check that backpack of hers a little more frequently.
Yeah, apparently things just poof into it.
And they're very incriminating and or dangerous.
Yes. But I'm bummed.
I couldn't figure out what they were going for with Rumple in this story. Are they trying? Is this a battle? Present day? Is it a battle like he's always had, but he's winning? Because he started to seem. I mean, Regina had some points. He felt very selfish and like he was gonna sacrifice anything to get what he wanted. I thought it was very pointed and telling when he was starting to get really sarcastic and she says, "You mean your grandson?"
Yes. We had feedback about that. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. We had feedback about that from DeAndre. And he just talked about how annoyed he is that Rumble is still so callous towards Henry and how they're making him like that again.
And by they, we mean the authors of this particular episode, because a week ago, maybe 2, he was very interested in what was going on with Henry, and Henry didn't like it.
Yeah, that's true.
And he was speaking to Henry's character. And yeah.
Sorry, when we're on this topic, all I can think of is little Henry on the swing and Rumpelstiltskin like making the swing disconnect way back. That was definitely when the prophecy was that the young boy would be his undoing, and they thought that it was Henry.
I have been tossing that scene around in my mind too, because that was just like the epitome of how can you be like this toward your family?
Yeah, so DeAndre said, I really want to love Rumple, but when they choose to write him this way, it really upsets me because it's a part of his foundation and his story that began everything in their universe and this series being Bay, who is Henry's son. I hope there is some resolution, not only with the Dark One side of the story, but also between he and Henry, Neil Balefire's son and Rumple's grandson. It does seem so strange every time they do this. Like DeAndre said, it seems so strange that they can make him like that when the whole premise of this entire series was that he was trying to get to his son in a land without magic. And Henry is a direct result of that happening.
Yep. And now he's very fixated on getting to Belle, but he still has his other son, Gideon, somewhere, presumably.
Doing very well in his studies.
Yes. Well, that was a while back.
This is my problem with fairy tales is maybe this is real life. I don't know. I don't have step parents, but like we talked about in the Hansel and Gretel story, it's like the birth parent always chooses the step parent over the children. I don't think that that's how reality works. Maybe, like I said, I've just grown up in a very nice reality where that did not happen. But
right.
Like, how is he going to choose Belle over his children and grandchildren?
Plus, it's like, well, it's the same thing he said to Regina, but in reverse. It's like, yes, all of these situations have been going on for a long time. You can find a way to die later. You need to save Henry right now.
Right.
Why is this so? Okay, the urgency was inserted artificially by saying, oh, by the way, he's losing his battle with the darkness. So he can't remain just a good person anymore. The darkness is probably going to overtake him again, which actually, if I'm being honest, makes more sense than Rumple with all the darkness inside him just still deciding to be a good person and remaining that way, and makes far more sense than Hook being a good person because he forgot he was the Dark One. But still, they didn't talk about it before this week. It's just one of those things where it's like they've got something here, but you would swear that they're not talking to each other. It's like they've all got different ideas, and when they get their turn, the writers, I mean, it's like when they get their turn, they bring out their ideas, but they didn't talk to each other and start to weave these ideas in so that when their episode came around, it would make more sense.
What's that game? Is it called Mad Libs? Where you just like pick a noun and a verb and an adjective and an object, and you just, that's all you know about it. And then you fill in the blanks and it tells a story. Or like those posts that are going around Facebook where it's like, you can only say 3 words and continue on the story. So you just get to say once upon a, and then the next person might say time, or they might say once upon a cloud or something. Sorry, that's a shoe store here.
Are you implying that they
not.
play Mad Libs and thereby write the script?
Are you implying something different? It's kind of what you just said.
Maybe.
They're not talking to each other. They're just like writing alone in a room with no cell phone.
Well, the problem comes in, and I know we're kind of getting off on a tangent, but it's as if they're playing tug of war with the character development.
Right.
It's like one week a character seems way more advanced than they used to be, and we're like, wow, you've really come a long way. And then the next week, the next set of writers goes, no, pull it back a little bit. They haven't come that far.
Which is, you said something about this last week, and then I got this great theory of how they should like revolutionize the writing of TV shows. Where instead of having writers swap episodes, they should swap characters. So like Adam Horowitz always writes Regina, and then Eddie Kitsis gets to always write Rumpelstiltskin, and then Jana Spenson gets to always write. Actually, she should be Regina because she gets the witty comments, right? Like they should each get a character
Right.
instead of each getting an episode. I think that would make this, at least it would make the character stuff go a whole lot better.
Or have consultants. I don't know. Now that we're getting really into how should a TV show be done, but it, and it's sort of too late for Once Upon a Time. But now we're living in a day where Netflix and those sorts of networks, if you will, are releasing shows whole seasons at a time. And so while they may not have a whole series planned out as they should, they have a whole season, and it shows because the way the story flows from one episode to the next, you know without a doubt that by the time you get to episode 13, they knew that stuff was going to happen when they did episode 1 and episode 2. And the stuff that happened in those episodes was setting you up for the rest of the story all the way through, just like reading a book, watching a movie. And that's how all TV shows should be. And especially as they've become serialized. I mean, we've come a long way from the days where like Star Trek The Next Generation had very few continuing story arcs. They could just, you establish the characters, you write next week's story, and people, I mean, honestly, they had a little more character continuity even then, but the story could just go off in a different direction because they were going to wrap it up that week.
Right.
It's just not like that anymore, but the networks haven't adapted. They still are like, we'll keep you around as long as people are watching.
I don't know, because I just have been binge watching a show that I have PVR'd. So it's been on every week, like this show, but I don't have time to keep up with it, and now it's over, and so now I'm trying to just finish the series because the series finale I think was last week, and I couldn't take a break, like, because all of the episodes are so interconnected and every single episode ended on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, I can't, I need to watch the like one more episode before bed. I can't not know what happens next. And so that showrunner and those writers at least have it together.
Mm-hmm.
They probably also know, though, that their show is going to be binged like that.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't think I could watch that show if I had to wait a week in between. But people do because it's still on live.
Yeah, people have said that about Lost too, and yet we held on every week for 6 years.
Well, and think about like before the internet was what it was. Like there was an episode of Buffy that did not air in the States because of very sensitive content given current events that were happening at the time in the United States. Mm-hmm. And apparently, I didn't know this because I was like 10 years old, but apparently there was like people from Canada, because it aired here, like mailing VHS tapes to their like chat room friends from like the dial-up internet service.
Oh my goodness.
Because that was the only way that they could watch this episode.
Yep.
It was actually 3 episodes of one season that did not get aired almost in a row. So it just but now it's like if the USA it in and of itself decided not to air an episode and other countries did, it would be online like before.
Yeah. There'd be no point.
Before the closing credits. Yeah.
They would be able to get the episode to other people almost as instantly as Tilly somehow got the dagger in her backpack.
Yep.
How
but it
did
was
that
there
happen?
all day. Magic?
Yeah. Apparently, because she woke up with the buzzing in her head, which was apparently the dagger.
Yep. Magic.
S-
Because there
So,
is magic in this world. In case you didn't notice that Facilier poofed Rumpelstiltskin into his car.
whew, that was creepy. The way he did that was super creepy, and I
Why
think
does it
more
work?
disconcerting. Well, it was just so sudden. It was like there was no smoke. It was just boom.
Yeah.
And I think the weirder part was after watching Rumpel never be put in that position for this many years. It was very odd to see him disoriented.
Well, I don't understand why the magic worked. So I don't understand why Facilier has magic, and I don't understand why it would work on Rumpel if it hasn't worked on him. And I don't understand. And I don't understand why it would work on Rumpel if it hasn't worked on him in the past.
Well, right now he doesn't have his, so he
Right.
can't ward it off.
But there's enough magic that the Dark One dagger appeared in Tilly's backpack.
It's true, and also he can't be killed, but he can be wounded. So it's weakened. Its effect is maybe weakened, we can assume.
It's like our world's version of immortality is when you don't die from
You get shot and you just
getting shot.
sort of somehow
Yeah.
don't die. Yeah, well. Ugh. We'll miss the show, but I won't miss trying to come up with the filling for the plot holes.
Do you know who we will miss though?
Our heroes.
Had to use it. Had to use it.
But
But if you weren't done,
it's not always our heroes that you're referring to when you ask
No.
a question like that.
I know because I already did it once, but then I gave the answer really quickly.
But we will miss our heroes. They help us do this podcast. Not always literally, although we have had some guests, but in the logistics, because it actually turns out costs a lot of money to keep hours and hours and hours of audio recordings online and available for download, and keep a very active forum online and keep it from crashing all the time. So we would like to thank all of our heroes, and for this episode specifically, Lisa Slack, Lisa R, James Kinslow III, Greg Shope, our new hero, Matthew Rimmer, or Reimer, probably Rimmer. I don't know. You can send us feedback, Matthew, and tell us how to say your last name. We have to make that request of most of our new heroes. If you out there would like to find out how you can join with us and help us keep this podcast going, we're going to have expenses even once the show's done, and some further episodes, probably some further content. So we know we want to do at least one kind of special episode probably after our review of the finale. And we may have some other stuff in the not so distant future. But if you want to see how you can help us do that, you can go to oncepodcast.com/hero. And we also have all of our heroes on Patreon, 19 heroes on Patreon right now. So thank you all. Again, that is oncepodcast.com/hero. Thank you for your support. We'll miss you. We'll visit from another realm.
I'm gonna miss segueing into heroes so much.
No, you people are awesome. That's why we still do this. We're sitting here whining about the show because we love you. You know what else I want to whine about?
That could just always be our segue. Do you know what else I want to whine? What else, Jeremy?
The same thing I've been whining about since season 2.
The timeline?
Why are they using... Yes. No, why are they using the wrong names?
Oh, yeah.
Why would Rumpel call Regina Ronnie, talking to Facilier, who, as far as we know, has never not been awake? Never known her as Ronnie. I don't get it.
Je ne sais pas.
I just don't get it. They hold on to this "we are both" thing a little too tightly.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't even notice it. I don't notice it anymore, but you do.
I do, and I
So-
think it's because somehow, maybe because it helps me keep the timeline straight. I'm going to consider this a skill. I now call people in this season, especially, by their name, depending on whether they know their name or not. How do they know themselves? So in the flashbacks, I've been saying Alice, and in the present, I've been saying Tilly because she doesn't know her name, but I call all the awake people by their actual name because they know their name.
And I struggle to keep even that clear, so I just call them whatever comes out when I'm talking about them.
Well, maybe that's what they're doing too.
Again, the writers just that's one of their like pushing, what is it? Pushing.
Pushing daisies?
No, what did you say? The writers are like giving pushback. Like
Could
they're
be.
challenging the last writer and then rewriting the character.
Oh, tug of war.
Tug of war, sorry. Maybe that's just one of the writers' tug of wars. Which name are they going to be today?
Right. They're like, we made these names, so we're going to use them. No, I don't know.
I honestly forgot that Alice's name was Tilly for a while.
Really?
I don't think I referred to her as Tilly at all in this episode.
It makes sense when they do normally because her father does not know her name or who she is.
True.
Usually they're talking to somebody who knows her as Tilly, and she thinks of herself as Tilly, so it makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. I loved the speaking of Tilly, I loved the juxtaposition of in the past when she's with Robin, she's the one who's had all the cool adventures, and Robin's the one who's been kind of stuck and not gotten to explore much. But then in the present, when Tilly is with Margot, she's not had any adventures to her knowledge. And Margot is the one who's seen the world and is like telling her all about it.
That's true.
It was cool.
I hadn't realized. I had to laugh when Margot started out trying to make her feel better by saying, "Oh yeah, traveling by books would be so much easier. Like all those times I got stuck in all these amazing places." It just turned into this. Actually, no, traveling's really amazing, but she never said it that way. She went all in one sentence from, "Oh no, believe me, don't feel bad that you've never gotten to do this," to, "Oh yeah, I actually, every place I ended up stuck was so amazing, I got a souvenir."
It was cute though that they went to the travel section and then she said you can go anywhere in the world without taking a step.
When did she say that before? Did she say that before?
I don't remember her saying it before, but it wouldn't surprise me since she grew up in a tower that she's developed that kind of imagination.
It's probably something she just said in the past in the tower.
Well, she did say, I sometimes believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. It's kind of the same thing, right?
Right. So I feel like they're doing something with Tilly, maybe for a while now, but especially in this episode, that I can't decide how I feel about it. It's as if they're using her to represent or educate about people with some sort of maybe
Mental health struggle.
Yeah, exactly. And so on the one hand, so there was like her little outburst in the bookshop, and then her explanation of good days and bad days, and showing some acceptance on Margot's part of, good and bad days. And that's kind of cool, except that, because again, I feel like it's similar to what they do often because it's a magic based story and it's so weird anyway. They try to do a thing and they come up with a situation that doesn't apply to real life. I feel like, is it cool that they're sort of addressing those issues, or is it unfair because, as it turns out, Tilly doesn't have those issues. Everything that's happening to her is real. And
But is it because Alice was kind of weird too with stuff like that in the past?
But so like the buzzing in her head and everything, there was a literal magical dagger in her backpack that was speaking to her. So it wasn't like it's just a mental health struggle. She was having a legit thing.
Right.
And I don't think anyone would have done differently. Not much.
That's true. Yeah.
Except that she actually just rolls with it better. So that's why I struggle with how to feel about it. Because it's like, okay, cool that you're kind of bringing up this dialogue, but kind of bad that it is actually not just simply a mental health struggle.
Yeah, and we have like even in this podcast, like we've literally used those words like mental health struggle, referring to Tilly and Alice. Specifically, I want to say in the episode where she fought the troll, because she like manifested that to help her, and we were
Mhm.
talking about that. And so I do like it. It's always hard, I find, in like sci-fi or fantasy shows when they're trying to have metaphors and like apply things to real life. And so many of the shows that I've watched growing up did that.
Mhm.
And yeah, like it's an interesting discussion for sure from what you're saying, because I'm even thinking of, like I already referenced it, the episode of Buffy that couldn't air in Canada, or sorry, that couldn't air in the States, was about school violence. And it was meant to air right after uh, a major act of school violence in the States,
Mhm.
and therefore they couldn't air it. But the whole premise of that was, she could hear everybody's thoughts, and then she heard the thought of a fellow student saying that they were going to kill everybody, and that made it really real, right? And then it turns out that it wasn't monsters at all. It was legitimately like an act of school violence that was about to happen.
I see.
So I think they can do justice to both. I do feel like it's a little late now in the series to be bringing such a big topic in,
Yeah.
if that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I loved her explanation of it. Like at the end, sometimes I have good days and sometimes I have bad days, and I'm not ready for you to see the bad days yet. I think that that would be how anybody that has any type of struggle would feel. And to
Mhm.
have that reassurance was really nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Sorry.
I'm going to take a moment to skim notes because we've jumped over a few things. I think I've got one that we can save kind of for the end to have a happy note, and a lot of unimportant things that we skipped over, and do you have somewhere specific you'd like to go from there? Or should we go straight to the last untouched topic?
I have a theory.
Oh, you have a theory.
But and it might actually help us segue into the last topic. So
Okay.
yeah, I
Go
can
for
just
it.
jump into that. Okay. This whole okay, I'm gonna start that again. I'm trying to think of how to start it. This whole relationship building thing between Alice and no. This whole relationship building thing between sorry, I'm trying to remember cursed names now because of all that.
Oh.
Tilly and Margot, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
This whole relationship building thing between Tilly and Margot being presented at the same time as us learning that Alice is the guardian and has magic that is quite powerful, and that she has this destiny, and had the dark one dagger. It made me really, really, really look back on the page from the storybook that Lucy got when Jacinda and Henry were about to share true love's kiss. And I was thinking, I just kept thinking, like, do we know that it has to be Henry and Jacinda's true love kiss to break the curse? And I just feel like it maybe isn't going to be their kiss. And this episode just made me think that it could be Tilly and Margot. And the page just said, if true love's kiss should ever break the curse, Henry Mills would surely die. So I'm wondering if they are going to play with that a little bit, because they are magical. And I do believe they were the last kiss that we saw before the curse hit as well.
I suppose they could go that direction.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if they're going to, because it's so predictable that Henry and Jacinda are going to be the ones. And
well, it would also be
there's
kind of
nothing
the point
magical
of
about
the
them.
story
It would be the point of the story. That's true.
to some degree.
But was Emma the savior because she had magic?
Emma was the savior because that's how the curse was written.
But was it written because she was going to have magic? Did her magic have anything to do with it? Because it was the failsafe of the curse. Like he put true love in the curse.
I
And
don't
it
know
was
if she was ever going to have magic, to be honest.
no, but I thought she had already had magic before that. Maybe not.
Mm-mm. Things
When
had happened
did she
around
touch
her.
the hat and make it work? Was that in season 2?
I
Yeah,
don't
that was when the Dementor thing, the Wraith.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when the Wraith came and they were in that was one of the mayor office smackdowns, I think.
Well, season 2's been in the vault for a very long time. We try not to let it out. So
Yeah, that's true. I love season 2.
Did you?
Well, I love
in retrospect,
2A.
I might. After everything, it's probably way truer to what we might consider the canon of the story. Even though it is all canon, it doesn't all connect very well.
But season 2A was before they got silly with that stuff.
True.
And I believe that scene that I'm talking about was in the episode called Broken, which was the premiere. I was like, the finale? No, the premiere of season 2, when they're trying to open the portal to send the Wraith through the portal. Emma's the one who gave Regina enough magic to make it work, I think. Again, long time ago. And I didn't even podcast about that season. So. But if we don't do an extra episode, I would be very disappointed if we didn't do an extra episode where we maybe shared some of our very favorite moments from this entire series. I imagine most of ours are going to be from season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But mine's from season 2. My very, very favorite. Anyone who's been listening long enough probably knows what it is, but
I have some very key favorite moments, and a lot of them are Snow and Regina scenes.
aw, I was dead.
Not that one, but one directly preceding that is one of my favorites. Hint, hint.
Is one of your favorites when Mary Margaret's in jail and Regina's like, you do deserve this. And she goes,
Don't think
I
it was
don't know
that.
what this is about. I don't know what I ever did to you, but whatever it was, I'm sorry.
I think one of our special episodes is going to be you reenacting all of season 2.
That was season 1.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. That would have to be season 1.
Cool.
That's
All right. That was my theory. And I don't even know if I like it. I got that idea. Well, if Tilly is like the savior of this season, it just kind of works. I still like the idea that Emma's going to come back and break the curse.
I don't know what I like anymore, because for being such a central character, they've really shoved Henry off into the margins. That was definitely a writer pun, by the way. And I think that this is supposed to be him finding out what his story is. And I know he's like, yeah, I just want a good life. Well, that's fine, but we want a good story, and he's supposed to be central to it. So
I feel like they kind of always do that, though.
I know, but do they have to buck every single predictable thing, including continuity? Like, they don't have to always just say, what's the right thing to do? Let's do the opposite. That seems to be their MO at this point. It's weird.
That's true. I have to write down what you just said because it was hilarious.
So, have you ever experienced sleep paralysis?
I have, actually. It's terrifying.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, it's that thing where you're awake or kind of awake. You're actually asleep, but you can see. But you're asleep, so you can't do anything about it. You can't move, and you try. You can't yell or talk, but you try. Maybe you can manage like a moan. I remember distinctly when I was a kid having fallen asleep on my bedroom floor, and my only goal, all my strength, was just to touch my toes to the dresser because I felt like that would wake me up. That would prove that I was awake or something. It was horrible. It feels like it goes on forever. Well, that's where I think Henry is. He has proof, and he believes that he's Lucy's father, and he has no idea how that's possible. He's seen all this stuff, and he believes, but he's not awake.
But that was like, it wasn't quite like Emma, but Emma saw so many things.
She did not believe.
She did not believe. So it's like the opposite of Emma, I guess. Yeah. But their end result is the same.
Henry's been open to the ideas for a little while now, and he wanted to go back to Nick's apartment specifically to see the documentation, which he then confirmed with the hospital.
And now he knows it's true.
Yeah, and he also knew the medical examiner's report about Nick, right? Did he get that information, or was that Rogers only?
No, he didn't have that information yet. I don't even think Rogers had it yet.
Who did?
Oh, maybe. No, yeah, you're right. He might have had it.
Somebody who's not awake knew that Nick was stabbed through the heart on the inside.
Yeah, Rogers.
Yeah. But there's all this stuff, and Henry actually kind of believes it. And I keep back on at least what we all assume is going to happen. It keeps feeling like Henry's going to kiss Jacinda any day now. And nobody's ever there guarding them. And I feel like at this point, even if someone just if Lucy told him, hey, if you kiss her, you're going to wake up and you're going to die, I think he'd actually believe at least enough to avoid kissing Jacinda.
Like, Lucy has the piece of paper. All she needs to do is use it.
True.
I mean, there's got to be... I don't know. I was just going to insult her again, but I won't because she was in this episode. I know. It's so mean.
I know. She hasn't gotten enough screen time lately. I mean, maybe you're okay with that, but she is also central to this season, and she's often missing.
It's true. There was a moment where Henry was like, "You okay?" I think he said it to Rogers, and I was just like, oh my goodness, he sounded so much like Emma. Emma used to say stuff like that all the time. Just that. You okay? Whenever something happened. Do we think Drew is like still in this or done?
Oh, like is his story done?
I guess he can't be done yet, but
I don't think he's done because I think that going to probably at least suggest that he and Tiana will have a happy ending together.
I don't like
I
that.
could be wrong about that. I mean, it may just be Tiana and Beignets. Like, that would be fine too, because Beignets are a
Yeah.
central character. And I like them better than some characters.
Do you like them better than Cinnabons or cheesy pizza that doesn't lie?
The cheesy pizza is pretty good, but I think that the beignets might actually be able to contain the darkness forever. And they'll
With their
never go
trust
stale.
test?
Yeah. Yeah, like this bag of beignets in the last scene is going to come flying out of the Roland Bayou, and it's going to just swallow up the dagger and the darkness, and you're going to see it pull. All these little beignets are going to surround Nook's heart and Henry's heart, and they're going to pull the poison out, and everybody's going to suddenly appear in their finest enchanted forest attire, and there's going to be a large wedding from multiple couples, and then everybody will live happily ever after. I think that's how the show will end. It all comes down to the
Beignet.
beignets. Yep, all comes down to the beignets.
So if they do, see, I'm thinking like, I don't care if Sabine and Drew make up because I feel like that's just like, I don't care about that. And there's so many things that they need to wrap up. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be a whole episode arc for them to,
No, it doesn't.
like, he could just be like, hey, I just really want to tell you this is what happened. This dude was blackmailing me. I stole some magic trust test from your beignets, and but I love you, and I'm really sorry, and please don't fire me. And she'll be like, cool, I don't have a safety permit without you, so you're still on. And then
like, you need a padded truck to stay in forever because I don't know what you're talking about.
right.
No, because he's awake and she's not. So, but they were already a couple in whatever realm they're from, right?
No, they weren't.
Were they not?
They just met, and then Facilier
true.
took him away.
She actually kind of hated him. I don't know. I feel like I'm having dual memories of a lot of things in the show now because we've just been around and around so many times. What was their actual relationship? Where did they end up? Most people start out hating each other and end up kind of liking each other.
They were just, she did like him and she tried to save him, but then he had like signed an agreement with Facilier, and so then Facilier took him away at the end.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so they did get out of the hate phase. Well, then, I think they'll definitely end up at least somewhat together.
Yeah, that's fine, I guess.
Thank you. And yeah. Again, just get to the point. There are not very many. Well, so 4 episodes without commercials is about 3 hours of footage they have left to show us.
Yep.
So I expect a lot of this stuff to be wrapped up pretty quickly because we haven't seen Gothel in so long. I'm not sure I care what she's up to. And Facilier, I really just, and Naveen, like whatever. What's happening? I don't know. End it. Figure it out because we've got a lot that would be more meaningful that I want to see.
If they could wrap up Facilier,
such a whiner.
if they could wrap up Facilier and Drew, or Facilier and Naveen, or like whatever, if they could wrap that up this week coming up, and then save the last 3 episodes to literally be like breaking the curse and the smackdown with Gothel that inevitably has to happen. Like if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Whose office do you think it'll be in?
I think it will be in Storybrooke.
So like back in Regina's office?
Yeah.
Should she stand about where the Black Fairy stood?
No, I'm trying to think of what the outside equivalent would be in Hyperion Heights to outside Granny's.
They could do it in the lobby of the police station.
But what, I guess there hasn't been like an outside.
You know what? They haven't done an outside. Maybe they can't get those kinds of permits in Vancouver or something, but they haven't done an outside magic battle in a long, long time.
Which is why I said Storybrooke.
Yeah. Somewhere where they have a soundstage for parts of streets. But I bet they don't have that stuff anymore.
Well, I think just they would have to do it. Like they couldn't do it, I don't think, in downtown Vancouver because that would cause too much of a catastrophe for like traffic. Like Vancouver's huge and super populated. And
Yeah.
I think they would have to find like another little town that they could completely shut down that didn't look too much like Steveston.
And maybe we need something other than a battle where people are just holding their palms out at each other and letting the special effects department do the rest.
Do you mean like a hand-to-hand combat?
Yes.
Like
I
Regina
think-
punches Gothel out?
I think Gothel should have plants as her weapons and Regina, all the things from the bar. Ooh, maybe the
Starts
battle should
throwing-
happen at Ronnie's.
She just starts throwing all those polished glasses at her.
Yes. I think that would be fantastic. They've had battles in a lot of the other enclosed spaces in Hyperion Heights already.
I was just like, oh, they're near the ocean. They could like use the water. And then I just got the vision of Voldemort in the finale, or not the finale, in the Order of the Phoenix. I think it was that one where he turns everything into water in that big smackdown between Dumbledore and Voldemort. Don't they like take the water out of the fountain and like, anyway, it's fine.
She could just bring a tidal wave.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't it be funny if Gothel just wins?
No, that would be horrible.
After all this, it's just
Like if you think killing Neil was against the mortality of the show, or if you think killing Neil was against the moral of the show,
everybody
Gothel
died.
winning. Everybody
Gothel starts the most hearty laugh. She starts slow and deep, and she just builds into the most hearty laugh we've ever heard from her. And then it fades to black, and they flash forward 10 years, and she rules the world.
No more happy endings.
Which has become a jungle and a forest.
Right.
Everything is jungle and forest.
Yeah.
Because Gothel. Yep. I'm full of the crackpot theories today.
Are you done?
I think I am.
Okay.
I think everything's done at that point.
So what do you, our listeners, think about these theories? And do you have any theories that you would like to share other than Gothel ruling the jungle?
Ooh, you know what? I want to end on a good note.
Okay.
I want to ask a couple more things. I want to talk about a thing and then ask a thing. I forgot about that. So we might. Is it okay? Do you mind doing that part over again after that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So to go out on a better note than Gothel ruling the world, my favorite scene of the whole thing, and they keep having these amazing scenes suddenly that make everything else worth it. Rumple and Nook toward the end in the past, as Rumple had largely succumbed to the darkness, and he's starting his impish ways again, but with this heavy sadness. It was like he was trying to be lighthearted and weird, but it was just too sad.
Aww.
It was amazing. Robert Carlyle is amazing.
He is amazing.
So yes, that to me made it worth it, but it also leaves me with questions So that's the state Rumple was in. I guess we did have a flashback from earlier in the season where we were like, how did Rumple get back like that?
Actually, yes, we did. Wasn't it? No. But yes, we did. I don't
I can't
remember
remember.
when. I feel like it was more recently than not.
It could have been. I can't remember where it came in, but I
Oh,
remember being afraid that meant it was a Wish Realm Rumple.
yeah.
Well, that
Wasn't
did
it
happen.
when the curse rolled out? Because when the curse rolled out, he was back in gold form. Not Mr. Gold, that is. Gold skin.
Oh.
Because remember when the curse hit, it was like him and Alice and Robin were all together.
Oh, that's true.
And he was like sheltering them, but it was like old school Rumpelstiltskin. Rumpelstiltskin. But it was like old school Rumpelstiltskin.
That's what it was. Yeah, so now we know. And that makes me happy because that's continuity.
I don't know if that's the moment where we were like, when did he become gold again? But yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I thought that was at least interesting, but it gives. So if the curse is broken, does he go back to that? And what does that mean for him? Is that another reason he's so desperate to do this now?
I don't know.
It seems like he was still. He was acting like old school Rumple, but he wasn't thinking like old school Rumple. He wasn't back to being evil. He was just talking that way. So he wasn't completely back to it, though Regina thinks he is.
Old school Rumple speak is the best speak.
It's true.
He's great.
Regina sounded like we all sounded last year. She's so done.
And has no more friends anyway, so.
Yeah. She thinks he hasn't changed. I think he has, finally. I think going back to beauty, that showed us everything that we needed to know about that.
Conversation frustrated me a little bit because I feel like he could have been like, listen, Regina, I didn't know my dagger was safe. Do you want somebody else to have my dagger? Do you want a new dark one? Like, that's what's going to happen. So I didn't know my dagger was safe. And here, let me help you find another way to save Henry.
Or so someone else has the dagger. She cures Henry. They break the curse. And guess what? Someone's got control of the dark one.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like that could. So then whoever it is has it in for them and makes the dark one go kill Henry. So have they accomplished anything at that point?
Right. Like, I don't think he was.
Takes priority, I think.
I don't think that he was afraid of losing the dagger in the same way that he has been in the past. That is, I'm afraid of losing my power. I think he was afraid of being in the control of somebody else and being forced to do dark things. Or B, like what we just said. Right. Someone else has the dagger. He dies because he has to get stabbed to pass the darkness on to somebody else, I think. Yeah.
But next week, whoever wrote next week's episode, if they want to, they could just have Regina come back and be like, I was wrong.
Yeah. Cool.
Which I guess that's more like real life than I want to admit, but it's still kind of frustrating.
Actually, that's true too.
I mean, I just did it. The writers are terrible, although maybe they're not.
So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that we have a lot of crackpot theories, or do you think that we might be onto something? I'm actually really interested.
That the dad talked to Dr. Facilier through a payphone. We want to know what
or
you
did
think.
he use a can?
Yeah.
can and a string. All I thought of was that's how John says I upload my episodes with a can and a string because my internet's so slow. But this does conclude our discussion of The Guardian, this episode of Once Upon a Time. If you would like to comment on our theories, send us theories, please go to oncepodcast.com/feedback and you can send us feedback then. No.
And we're going to end the way we started.
If you would like to share theories with us about how the show is going to end or about something that happens in the next episode, please visit oncepodcast.com/feedback to find out how you can share your theories with us. Please try to get your theories to us, your feedback, sometime before Monday at noon-ish so that we have time to incorporate them into our show notes. Although, like, as you witnessed tonight, we find a way sometimes.
Yes.
And if you would like to further discuss this episode of Once Upon a Time, you can do that over on our forums, which is at oncepodcast.com/forums. Please share this episode of Once by going to oncepodcast.com/339 and follow us on Twitter at Once Podcast. You can also follow each of us individually on Twitter. I'm Erin, and I'm on Twitter at Erin J. Cruz.
I'm Jeremy on Twitter at Phlegon. That's PHLEGON.
And you can also follow Daniel on Twitter at the Daniel J. Lewis. Special thanks to our whole team of volunteers who helped to make this podcast possible. Jack for writing our show notes, John Buchanan for editing our episodes, Hunter Hathaway and Jacqueline for providing spoilers. Special thanks to our whole team of volunteers who helped to make this podcast possible. Jack for writing our show notes, John Buchanan for editing our episodes, Hunter Hathaway and Jacqueline for providing spoilers, Jacqueline and Matthew Paul for moderating the forums, Keb for masterminding our timeline, Daniel, Jeremy, Heather, Hunter, and Jacqueline for hosting the podcast. And until next time, you can put candy on anything if you try hard enough. And thanks for listening. I don't remember if that's how she said it. Did that work?
Maybe a little more. You can put candy on anything if you try hard enough. Now I'm your director.
Cool. I'll have a long dialogue in my head about that. And until next time, you can put candy on anything if you try hard enough. And thanks for listening. I don't know if that fixed the problem or not.
No, I think that was good.
Okay. Once Podcast is a proud...
Sorry.
What? It's okay.
I forgot you weren't done. I was going to say we can do another version with the emphasis on a different word each time if you want.
Did I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable?
No, you put it on the... Oh, right.
Wrong
Only
word.
has one syllable. I was going to try to mess it up and I couldn't. So that's what my life is like. I try to mess up and I can't.
Once Podcast is a proud... No. Okay. I was going to just redo the until next time. And until next time, you can put candy on anything if you try hard enough. Probably the middle one was better. Forget that one, John. Once Podcast is a proud member of Noodle.mx Network. Find more of our award-winning and award-nominated podcasts to make you think, laugh, and succeed at Noodle.mx. Big thanks to our heroes for supporting this episode. If you would like to be a hero too, please visit oncepodcast.com/hero. And thank you for your support.
I was going to play the stinger and then I realized that I kill everybody when I play sound effect. So I decided not to. So you're welcome. I wish I knew why that was. Where'd you go?
I'm here.
Oh, hi. Well, we always find a way. We
Where there's
talk
a
a
will,
long
there's a
time
way.
about Once Upon a Time.
We do. How long? 2 hours. Oh, 2:14, man.
Yeah.
Doing great.
We had a long pre-show.
We did, yeah. And then like a
feel-
lot of bloopers at the very
I
beginning.
feel like we had a mid-show as well.
I think we had
There was a
2.
while there where I was like, I'm not sure how long it's been since we talked about Once Upon a Time. But you know what?
I want to like start making notes for like the podcast that we're going to do together when this is over.
Right?
I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm just saying there are some topics like I thought of one while we were talking in this podcast.
That's hilarious.
Cool. I wrote it on a list. I'll send it to you.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't even know if anything that I said tonight makes sense. I'm
not
tired.
sure if anything I said makes sense.
But somehow John, he always manages to make it make sense.
It's true.
Aaron,
Manic.
oh, see, we have fans already.
We do.
And Dachshund would probably come back
It's
if
true.
we recorded at a time.
Yeah, that's kind of been weird actually, not having Dachshund in the chat room.
Yeah, I think the impression I'm under is that he has to get up really, really early for his job.
Oh. Jared is here as always. I don't see Rose tonight.
No, but next week we have to wish her a happy birthday. It's in my notes. I should put that note on the top again. I don't come in this room except for to do this podcast, so.
But we have Manic, which is not always the case.
Hi,
and
Manic.
We have Ash23 and Snooky and
Jared.
Witty was here earlier. I said Jared, didn't I?
Probably.
It's like I can't forget Jared. We are both. And we may have somebody else who hasn't talked in a while, but I don't see anybody. It's just the shrinking red room for these last few weeks. I have no idea what our downloads are like. They must still be fairly up there.
Sorry, what? Sorry. No, I'm here.
You were kind of gone.
I was. Well, I was reading something.
I was just comparing the shrinking number of people as we record live to a red room.
Oh, the burning red room, or
well, I said shrinking, but it is kind of like that.
Oh,
it's just like a smaller and smaller company of people for these last few dwindling weeks. But I don't know how downloads are. I'm assuming they're still where they've always been. Maybe not. Maybe people have unsubscribed who don't watch the show anymore, but some people watch the show because of the podcast. So,
well, and I feel like we haven't gotten any like really mean feedback lately.
So maybe they're just not listening yet.
Maybe. So I get like it doesn't phase me. That's all. Like it might phase you. I don't know. You're in customer service, so maybe not, because I get like the most ridiculous complaints like 12 times a day about me at work that I'm just like, I don't even care if I get mean things said about me as a podcaster. And it just doesn't phase me anymore. Like
I think I care. I think most of I care if it's pointed directly at me a little bit. But yeah, I've had meaner things said about people who actually met me face to face.
Yeah.
How did I say that? I've had meaner things about me said by people who have met me face to face. And so that bothers me more.
Right.
Especially if they didn't say it to my face and I thought things were cool. And then they're like, yeah. Oh. So that's how it was.
I love people like with the attitude. Somebody messaged this friend of mine or like sent her feedback because she writes on this website and they're like, remind me not to waste my time reading any of your articles on such and such a website anymore. And she was just like, and I think what she said was that the article was literally about not wasting your time doing things you don't like. And so she was like, okay, here's your reminder. Don't read my stuff on such and such anymore. Like, that's
Like,
not about me.
does that-
That's about you.
Does that mean my advice was good or bad? That's, yeah.
Right?
It's like, wait, my article's a waste of time, but you're taking my advice?
Yeah. She's funny. I'll tell you more when we're not on air.
That's great. Yeah. So, any more Canadian products that we should know about?
Oh, let me think. What is my Canadian product of the week? I'm so tired. I don't know. You tell me about an American product.
Oh, true. I don't think I'm gonna have to just start naming things. We have eggs here. Do you
We do have eggs, yes. Here, I'll tell you something about eggs. So I only will eat now eggs that are like straight from this like specific farm place.
Straight from one chicken.
Well, and so the reason is like, okay, here's the egg story. I was like house sitting, like maybe 2 years ago. I was house sitting and I had forgotten to bring eggs from home. And I eat eggs every day. So I like went to Walmart and I'm like, great, these eggs are on sale for like $2.99. Whatever. Brought them home, brought them to this house, and then literally 3 eggs in a row and 6 in total from the dozen were double yolked.
Ew.
You know, when you get like the double yolk. So I'm like, what are these chickens being fed? Because I'm like, okay, if it was like once ever, like once in a while that happened, like I get it. Twins happen sometimes in real life and humans too, right? Like that happens
in real life.
In real life. But for like
not the fanciful fictional realm where eggs are made.
But like if like I just applied it to humans and I'm like, if somebody had 3 sets of twins out of 12 or 6, it would have been 6 out of 12. Like they're taking some type of
right,
like substance to make that happen.
If like 50% of pregnant women in a community were pregnant with twins.
Yeah,
at the
like
same
that's
time.
freaky. And that's it's not natural, I don't think. Like not to say that twins can't be natural. They absolutely can. I'm not
right. But that
I want to have twins. Like I'm not
current.
Yeah. And so I'm like, what are they giving these chickens that are making this happen? And then I got like all freaked out and I did research and I just like found out that like even the yolk color, like you can tell how like happy the chicken is because the more pale the yellow, the more stressed the chicken. And if you buy like a farm fresh egg from like a free range farm, the yolk is like orange, not pale yellow. And so like now I only get, there's this place that does like a flat of eggs for $10. So that's 2.5 dozen for farm fresh eggs for $10. And they're amazing. So yes, we have eggs, but I don't buy them from the grocery store. I buy them from this place.
That's awesome. I've been buying slightly higher quality eggs, but only slightly because budget.
Yeah, if you guys had this store, or just like make friends with somebody that has eggs, that has chickens.
That might have to happen. I go through a lot of eggs though, but I found that the ones from Kroger always have like this double. There's like an outer white and an inner white, and I think that's just a lack of freshness.
Yeah, I'm not sure
There's
about
like
that.
a more solid part of the white, but when I buy them at the other store that I like better, they don't have that.
They should have like
thinner.
Oh, you said you go through a lot of eggs though.
Yeah. I do. And it's one of the few things that doesn't cost an arm and a leg.
And it's like arguably quite healthy.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So that's not a Canadian product. I don't know. Do you
I'm
guys
trying to
know
think of
that
something that's probably weird that's American that might not be
our
Canadian.
our Smarties are chocolate. They're like M&Ms. Your
Really?
Smarties we call Rockets, and they're like those little powdery, right? Is that what you guys call Smarties? Like those little powdery candies
Oh,
in the
well, like
rolls?
they're hard, but you chew them up and they turn into kind of a
Like
powdery.
the sugary? Yeah. So we call those
Yeah.
Rockets.
Oh, weird. That's
Manic
funny.
says in Canada, we also have these weird metallic eggs, which are used as currency.
Oh my
Oh, I
goodness.
could tell you guys about the loonies and the toonies. Do you guys know what those are?
Yes, I do. Did you stop your recording?
No.
We probably should.
Sorry,
Gosh,
John. Now he's not going to
Aaron,
know about the loonies and toonies.
you'll have to ask Aaron about loonies and toonies later, John.
Not my
Hi,
recorded
John. Yeah, for me, it doesn't matter. It'll add like 30 seconds to my upload for you.
Yeah. So Canadian money is very colorful and very diverse. We have no pennies because it costs 2 pennies to make a penny, and so that's a waste of money. So they follow like grade 2 rounding rules at the grocery stores now
Oh, wow.
for pennies. And so we don't have pennies. We have nickels, dimes, quarters, and then we have loonies, which are $1 coins, and toonies, which are $2 coins.
And that's because there's a loon on the $1 coin, and the toonie is just because
It's
people are funny.
Yeah. But come on, Toonie Tuesday?
What?
Yeah. We have a lot of places that had, but like before inflation, had like Toonie Tuesday. So like at the movies, it used to be Toonie Tuesday. You could just pay a toonie and you would get into the movies. And then Toonie Tuesday was also like some restaurants would have like Toonie Tuesday deals.
I feel like Australians would be really down with that.
Okay.
Because everything ends in E.
Oh, right. Looney
Aussie,
Toonie.
Barbie. I can't think of any others, but they exist.
Lassie. No, that's definitely Scottish. And then do you know that our $5 bills are blue, and then our $10 bills are kind of purpley, and then our $20 bills are green,
I've never held that much Canadian cash.
and our $50 bills are red, and our $100 bills are brown.
Wow.
And I don't know about the rest because I've never had any.
American currency keeps getting redesigned, and at the same time, we use less and less cash to the point that people could hand me anything, and I wouldn't know if it's a counterfeit or not, because I'm just like, yeah, maybe this is one of the new. It was really bad for a while because I would find out about a redesigned bill by having it handed to me. I was like, oh, I guess this is like the new 20, right? Like, is this real? I guess it is. Yeah, cool, we'll take it. And then quarters, they just keep doing commemorative this and that, and there are literally well over 50 different designs for a quarter because they did a state series. So
Sorry, literally or literally?
literally, there are literally over 50 kinds of quarters.
Yeah, I think here too.
Which
There's like
I'm not mad about it, but the bills are weird because we still have the old bills in circulation and we have the new ones, and then there were new ones, but maybe not redesigned, but it was like they released them gradually. So the 20s were first and then the 50s, and it was like,
yes, we used to have $1 bills and $2 bills. The $2 bill was kind of like a rusty red, and that's in my I used to pay like the toonie has come out in my lifetime.
oh, interesting.
So I have like a $2 bill and a $1 bill like in a box somewhere.
We have dollar coins, but they're not common. And for a while, they were most common in vending machines.
Well,
So
and we
like
have
you get change, and you're like, you put a 5 in a machine that recognizes it, and it'd give you $4 coins back. And you're like, cool. How do I even where am I going to remember to spend these? This is
well, and we had $1 coins that were silver before we had loonies that were like what are they? Not silver. They're kind of gold.
Oh,
And so I have one of those too
I have
in like a fake money collection because that's pretty much all that's in it.
I have a
Those three things.
small. Oh, so a collection of so the collection is what's fake, not the money.
Right. The money's real. The collection is fake.
I have a small collection of Canadian currency from when I was there.
When were you
briefly.
here?
Years ago, 10-ish years ago. But I went to Toronto for a minute and
For a minute and a half.
yeah, and London.
Oh, London's not exciting at all.
No, I know, but I was working with a company there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Toronto's nice for a day.
Yeah,
I
went
don't
in the
ever want to
fall.
spend more than a day there.
It was not a super fun drive. I thought I was actually maybe going to die of like boredom. No offense.
Driving to Toronto?
But
or
yeah,
in
it was
Toronto?
just well, actually, once I crossed the border before I got to London, even it was the grayest day you can imagine.
Yeah.
It was October or
Right.
November, and so but it was particularly overcast. All the grass was brown, and there was nothing. It was just there were no towns almost, and
Yeah, well, you were on the freeway, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was odd. I'm sure I could have gotten two towns if I took exits, but it was just, I mean, it was very similar in Ohio and everything.
No, there's not a lot there.
It was the first time I'd been in Canada, so I crossed the border and I'm like, I think I left everything.
You're like, we're not in Kansas anymore. Oh no, we are in Kansas again, actually. 'Cause
Right.
it's gray. Yeah, it's like Canada's fine. Like there's a lot to see here, but Toronto's just a humongous city that is like super intimidating. Like I'm from the GTA, so like the Greater Toronto area. And I went to Toronto last weekend on Saturday. So I just have to take a train for an hour. So it's not that bad. And it's like $20 for a day pass for the train. But it's just like hustle, hustle, hustle. Nobody drives. Traffic is crazy, even though nobody drives. Like, and it's kind of the only reason I will go there now is for like some type of event that I have to go to Toronto for, like a soccer game, or I had gone for the yoga conference, just whatever.
In a sad, very classic Jeremy goes on vacation move, I somehow I got to that whole trip is another story. It got all messed up. So my schedule was really off. But when I got to my hotel, it was super late because I had trouble finding it. It was it was before GPS. I think I had an iPhone, but I didn't have turn-by-turn directions because that costs, you had to buy some expensive app to do that back in the day. And it was hard to find the hotel. I was really tired. I had some other ordeals, had to change rooms, blah, 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 blah. And so I slept in quite a bit. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Spent time finding that. All I did was walk up Yonge Street and back. And I think I had lunch somewhere. That was my entire Toronto experience.
It's pretty much all you need. No, I'm just kidding.
Which it wasn't bad. It was just like, it was weird.
Actually, the last time I went to Toronto, well, okay, I've been to 2 like Taylor Swift concerts in Toronto. And the first time,
You want me to not record that part so that we don't do we want there to be documentation of that?
I don't care. It's I love Taylor Swift. It's fine. So I went twice, and the first time, like 10 to 15-year-old girls, millions of them, well, like thousands of them. And then like it just took, you have to walk from the train to like through Union Station to like through this like thing that connects you to the other place. Like it's just so, and it was just all these little tween and teen girls that were like freaking out because they were going to Taylor Swift. And so then the second time I went, and then the train took like an hour to even load at Union. And it was like you couldn't even breathe. It was so packed.
Yikes.
And then so we didn't get home until like so late. And so then I texted my friend when we got tickets the second time, and I was like, can we be adults and like stay in the city overnight so that we don't have to deal with that again? And so that's what we did. And then on the way, like the next morning, we walked back through the city. So we took the subway to our hotel, but we walked back when we had to catch the train. And that was like my first, like, not in a rush. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just wandering the streets of Toronto, and I'm with somebody that knows Toronto really well. And like, we're just stopping at all these little shops and like all these local places. Like, that was actually fun, I guess.
Yeah.
But just the stress of getting to a big event.
Yeah.
And all the
I
people, I
would
don't
have liked that. It was hard
It's
enough getting to a day of nothing.
right. Yeah. Wow, this this an after show.
This is an after show.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of odd that this is the conversation that came up today because it's so crazy what was happening earlier
Yeah.
in that same place.
Yeah. I have thankfully now heard from everybody that I can think of that is in Toronto during the day. So, but it's
Oh, wow.
awful.
They upped the death toll.
To what number?
10.
Pardon? 10?
10 dead and 15 injured.
Okay, because it was 9 and 16.
Oh, somehow when I looked, it just said 2. Must have seen an old report.
Yeah, I think the one I sent you was like really old. It was the first one I saw.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I probably won't. There's a lot. Like, there's always a lot that happens on social media
Right.
after something like this.
I was pretty surprised
I
that
lost a
even by
phone.
the time you said it, nothing was showing up on Facebook. Maybe I just didn't have anybody in the area
Yeah, because now everyone's marking themselves safe or
because I'm not
whatever.
seeing that at all. So maybe if I search for it, I will see it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's crazy.
There's always like, I don't know. There's always, yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. You just see, like, you see humanity in every facet that could mean in a situation like this. Like, this guy tweeted, you know, that as he headed home, he like listed all these nice things that he saw on his way home. Just to say, like, this is a good city.
Oh.
Right? Like, just trying not to let the fear and stuff take over. But and then everything is in French and in English.
Oh, wow.
And they actually apprehended the person without
really
shooting him.
It's like somebody does it. It's either people stopping them or they do it themselves. It's very rare. Well, in these situations, it's been very rare to actually catch them and maybe get to ask them, what was this about?
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, they're already saying, like, I won't watch any news, but I've seen it on Twitter. They're already saying like, that the police officer would have been completely justified in shooting, but didn't. And yeah, it was very impressive, apparently, from what I've read, but I didn't see it. So, but I mean, I think EMS has been doing a great job all day. So this is the real talk. There's a lot going on, Manic. There's a lot going on in the world.
Yeah. There is.
All right. Well, I didn't get kicked out of the room tonight, as you noticed. So.
Oh, true. It's 10:30. Dang.
Yeah. So that's nice. No, I don't get kicked out. I respectfully try to be done, but I don't need to be tonight. So, because people are away. Any other subjects anyone would like us to cover before we? And the show that I was binging was Scandal. That show, man. Have you ever watched it?
No.
But then they did a crossover with How to Get Away with Murder, but because I don't watch it live, I didn't know that, and so I didn't tape the episode of How to Get Away with Murder, and so I was like, this is where I can stop because it didn't end on a cliffhanger because I didn't get to watch the second hour.
Well, you should ask someone to send you a VHS.
Jared, did you watch Scandal? Because I really hated it this season, even though I just said I can't turn it off. Like I can't turn it off, but I'm not happy about it.
I've watched shows like that. Have you ever had a show where if you just watch it, and maybe this is exactly what you're talking about, but it's like if you watch it in a lineup of one or two other shows and you just kind of alternate or you watch them every week when they come out, there's like a show that you're like, I don't like this show. But if you wait and you watch 3 or 4 of them, maybe not all on the same night, but that's like all you watch on the nights that you do watch something, you're like, this is the show that I'm watching. You watch 1 or 2 a night for 3 or 4 days, and it actually gets better.
I think that's how I felt about Grimm, because I started watching Grimm the way I watch normal shows, which is on Friday nights. I would watch it, or I would tape it Friday nights and watch it on Saturday. And then I couldn't do it. I was just like, I don't think I like the show, but like I was taping it. Like my dad was also watching it. So it was being PVR'd anyway. And so I was like, oh, just save them for me. I'll watch them in the summer. And then when my parents would go on vacation every summer, I would just binge Grimm for a week, right? And like finish the season in a week.
Yeah.
And love it. So yeah, I do think that there are shows like that. And there are shows that I've never watched that way that I love, right? Like I watched all of Dexter and never watched it live on TV because we didn't even have the channel. I watched it season at a time. Like DVDs, old school. I still don't have Netflix. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And DVDs, I'm such an old man now. It's like DVD box sets were revolutionary.
I know, because they
like,
used
it's all
to be
gonna be okay
so
now.
expensive.
we used to record Star Trek: The Next Generation and on VHS and catalog it, like what episode was where, and we try to keep them in order, but sometimes something would happen or you'd miss some, or we have that one episode where we don't have the first 10 minutes, and you'd kind of wait. It was on in syndication. You're like, oh, that episode's coming back around somewhere. We're gonna get it then. And and they sold them, but they were literally like 2 episodes on a cassette.
Yes.
And really expensive.
I have those. But Buffy.
And so it was like, so have I ever told you how we watched Deep Space Nine, my family?
No.
I was a big Star Trek fan. Like it was the best thing ever. And Next Generation ended in 94. And Deep Space Nine had started. Did it? It started before Next Generation ended, I think, for 1 year. And then Deep Space Nine had like 3 months where it was the only Star Trek show, and then Voyager started. Yes, fall of 94. I don't know why I remember this. Deep Space Nine was on, but then Voyager started as like a half season in January of 95 and launched the UPN network and everything. And all those shows ended up being 7 years by the time they were done. But my family moved during the fall, like right as shows were starting to premiere. I guess that would have been 97. And was it 97? I'm so confused now. But Deep Space Nine and Voyager both, at whatever point that was, Deep Space Nine, I know, had 1 season left. We tried to follow them sort of after we left, but it was hard because we had some weird transitional points, and and things like that. And it was hard to follow. It was hard to get access to a TV at the right times. And our stuff, a lot of it was in storage for a few months and stuff. And so it was like we missed the entire last season of Deep Space Nine and the last 2 or 3 years of Voyager. And that was just it until years
The
and
DVDs
years
came
and
out.
years. Yeah, until the DVDs came out and the library got them because they were too darn expensive.
Yeah, they were so expensive.
$40 or $50, and this is a Paramount show, so it was like $40 or $50 a season.
Yeah.
So we had to wait until the library got them. I think I decided by the time we finished Deep Space Nine, because as a family, we decided to watch through the whole series again because it had been years. And that was fun. But by the time we got done, we had, in a sense, been following or known of those characters for something like 10, 12 years. And we had watched the equivalent viewing time of 13 seasons by the time we saw the conclusion of the story of these characters.
Wow.
And Voyager was even more interesting because I knew some pieces of what had happened, and I, out of some kind of weird spoilery desperation, because there's one major question about Voyager the whole time, and I knew I was going to find out, and I wanted to see it when it aired. I watched that finale through on a station that we basically didn't get. It was all, I could barely make out the characters. It was all just black and white static, and I could hear, and I could see some shapes, and I got the gist of what happened because, you know, I'd never do that now because spoilers. I'd wait until I could see it on Netflix or till I could get the DVD or whatever. But there was no concept that was ever even going to be a thing. So I wanted to know before I found out what the finale of Voyager was. So I watched it that way, even though I'd missed 3 seasons, which is crazy. It's just so crazy. And it wasn't, relatively speaking, that long ago. Life has changed so much.
Yeah, that's true, because we're not that old.
No, we're not.
Like Buffy has only been off the air for 10 years. So it's not that long.
Yeah.
Really.
It's like,
that's what happened. Go ahead.
We stop like we're doing a podcast and we have to not talk over each other. It's like, but I was just going to say, it's like, I know there are, you know, I guess adults at this point, 18-year-olds who are like 10 years ago, I was 8. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that does sound long, doesn't it?
Well,
but
yeah.
It wasn't that long.
No. I think I've probably told this story before, but I had a similar thing where I don't even know how, like I was competing and I was an athlete and I was just like so busy when I was a kid and like a teenager especially, that I don't even know how I managed to watch Buffy so religiously. But I think it was just because my training was always like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Buffy was on Tuesday. So,
Gotcha.
and like just my training never touched Tuesdays. So at one point it was like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday I had to go to Toronto for training. Saturday I was back in my city training, and then like Sundays with tournaments. Like, but nothing ever touched Tuesday. But then one time something did, and I don't know if it was like, I feel like it might have been when I was still even playing baseball, which I only played for 3 seasons, and then I was in karate, so I had to like kind of pick because they conflicted. But it must have been that, because it was like the biggest, most, you know, it's been listed on other people's websites as the best episode of Buffy ever.
Oh no.
Right? Like not only I think that, like it's been, somebody ranked all of them, and this 2-part finale was still the best. And so it's season 2, and the last 2 episodes, it was called Becoming Part 1 and Part 2. And whatever happened, I don't know. I didn't watch it. I didn't get to see it. It didn't tape. My brother and my dad watched it and told me about it, but it somehow didn't tape. And And right? Like there's no way to fix that. It doesn't
Right.
rerun. Like, at least it didn't rerun here over the summer. I never saw it, and I didn't get to see it until whenever they released those stupid VHS box sets that had 2 episodes each. It was like a 3-pack box set with 2 episodes on each tape, is when I finally got to see it. And I feel like maybe I didn't even get to see it then, and I had to wait for the DVDs, but like it was years. Thankfully, I continued to watch Buffy, but I want to say like I saw that episode sometime during season 4, and it was the season 2 finale. It was a long time.
That's
and
crazy.
that's like, you kids nowadays,
Right.
you have problems. I'm just kidding.
We used to have to set the recorder if we wanted to see something and we weren't going to be home, and sometimes there would be conflict because there actually used to be way more TV I was interested in. It's just gotten so junky now. And so sometimes you had to pick. And like, I remember some shows, especially the Star Trek shows, had a repeat day, which was kind of nice. But it was like a week out or something. It's crazy remembering that stuff, because I feel like networks won't rerun anything. They're not going to show most of the time the same show on a different night at a different time that they already aired.
Right. Well, and it's funny because I somehow worked it out in my house that, because at one point there were 2 shows on at the same time, and we had 2 we had 2 VCRs, but that meant that whoever was in the other room couldn't watch TV, right? Like, unless they watched that show, because you couldn't be on a different channel and taping a second channel.
We had a way to do it.
Maybe you could. Maybe I'm just forgetting. But
No,
yeah,
I
there was
think-
certainly no like smart record new episodes button that you could just press, that's how my PVR works. Smart record new episodes.
Maybe it was when we had cable. I don't remember.
You could do
There was
both.
like, somehow it was like the VCR could be set to one channel, and somehow if we switched what we were doing, we must have had, I don't even know. The VCR maybe had a separate function where we could not see what was happening on the VCR. We could switch back to the TV, and then we could change the TV's channel. Weird stuff. Just stuff you don't think about anymore.
Yeah. Well,
It's
we
funny.
do still have a conflict sometimes, because our PVR can maybe tape 2 things, but you have to be watching one of the channels or something.
Oh, I think mine only does one, and I've got it just in the last couple of weeks for the first time in my entire life. Now that I don't watch
I think
live
ours
TV
does
anymore.
2. But at one point there were like 3 shows on. But with them we had like the time shift package. So like my Grey's Anatomy tapes at 6 p.m. local time, because it airs. Remember, we used to get Once Upon a Time early here too.
Yeah.
I used to be able to watch Once Upon a Time at 6, watch it again at 7, and then watch it with you guys at 8 if I wanted to. I usually didn't, but I could have.
That's so funny.
Because it's like the Atlantic station or whatever. Anyway.
That is funny.
I think I do have to go now.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't tired when we started.
Uh-huh.
Plus I have to upload.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Hulu, I just, as a parting shot now, I looked it up just now. Hulu's only been around for a little over 10 years.
We don't even have Hulu here. We can't use it.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Somebody said that when I complained about them cutting off the last few minutes of Once last week. Someone just responded Hulu, and I said Canada.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to pay for Hulu to get it that soon anyway. ABC does the stupid thing where they release them 8 days later. Like, to force you somehow into watching live. And I'm like, that's, for those of us who are completists, it's sort of like, why would you do that? Because if you want me watching live, the best way to ensure that is to make sure that if I miss one, I can go online and see it before next week's episode that airs live.
Exactly.
But they don't seem to understand that.
No,
So it's
I
very
can watch it
strange.
on, like, we have ctv.ca. You can watch it on, like, same as if you guys go to abc.com, you can watch it.
Right. Yeah, it's very strange. I don't. Okay. Well, this was fun. Our next podcast will just be Jeremy and Aaron talk.
About like random things.
Yes.
Isn't that kind of what the ramen noodle used to be?
Yes, with a bent toward weird things that happened in our lives. / embarrassing things.
Overheard.
/ things that we thought were very funny that perhaps became funny when we tried to share them.
Okay, for real. I have to
All
go.
right. All right. Stop being
It was lovely
broadcast.
chatting
Good
with you.
night.
Good night.
And
I'll
I
see you
did
next
that
week.
weird. All right.